this next match took place in Paintsville, Kentucky. Excuse me. And it was for Smoky Mountain Wrestling. We used to run Smoky Mountain Wrestling in Paintsville. It's a small town. It's about an hour from here. We used to run in a place called Paintsville, the high school there. They also had the Apple Day Festival there. We did that yearly. But they also have a big county school called Johnson Central. So I'm going to give them a shout-out because we only had to wrestle there like twice. Mostly we ran. I'll give Ken Cantrell a shout-out too, one of Cornette's buddies, a friend of mine as well. Hey, Ken. I see him and Lisa every once in a while at some shows, and they're really always very nice to me. And Ken takes photography and this and that. But for this show, and he helped run Paintsville because we always did it for the volunteer fire department up there. And this show we had to go to Johnson Central High School because something was already taking place at Paintsville High School. I don't know if the school had been flooded. Honestly, if it had been a snow day, things happen. A tournament could have been going on. I don't know. So this place is in Johnson Central High School because I'm going to have another one in a minute at Paintsville High School. This match, though, involved Bullet Bob Armstrong and Dick Murdoch. And you're thinking, where the hell can you come up a match with those two guys on it? Well, we ran a different school, which is only about 12 miles difference, I'd say. One city school and one's county. Paintsville used to sell out regular. If it didn't sell out, it was damn near close. This show probably, and this was a much, much bigger school, gymnasium. It had about 400 people. We didn't draw like we normally do. I want to say it was even a Sunday afternoon show. And it was when Murdoch was in the territory, Van Horn was in the territory, the Mummy. I mean, it was just, and we had our regular crew. And believe it or not, the main event was Dick Murdoch with Cornette managing him against Bullet Bob Armstrong. And I kid you not, on each end of the bleachers, and of course it's a big gym, only about 400 people there. Ringside's probably got a couple hundred people, and then the rest are just, throughout the bleachers. On the one side, every baby face was out watching, and on the other side, every heel was out watching. And I kid you not, those two guys put on a fucking wrestling clinic. And it was classic. Murdoch even done the flying head scissors on Bullet Bob. And Bullet Bob was about 55 or 56 years old at the time. And Murdoch was, I guess, probably 57 at the time, something like that. Big old beer gut out there, pale as can be. Bullet had the tan and always looked good. And I'm telling you what, I don't think Cornette had to interfere or do anything other than introduce Dick Murdoch. And I'm telling you, the people, they watched it. And I swear, I was with Ricky and Robert and Tracy, and maybe one other boy. White boy may have turned babyface by that time, I'm not sure. But on the other end, I looked down there, and there's all the fucking heels looking out the locker room, standing by the bleachers. And them two guys, and Murdoch at one time even yelled out, because the boys were popping. They was putting it on, I think, more for the boys and Cornette than they were for the fans. But even during the match, and it could have even been, I'll just say this, it could have even been during the flying head scissors. Murdoch yells out, "The billboard still says wrestling." And they went about 30 fucking minutes. And it was just, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. I'm going to get a drink of water somewhere. I know I moved one. So if you hear something crunching, I'm sorry. I wish it was a shot or a beer or soda or something, but it's water. But anyway.
It's important to stay hydrated.
I know. Those two, it was fucking, it's one of my favorite all-time matches. I mean, here it is at number 4. So what's that tell you? And they went about 30 minutes. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you who won. I imagine Bullet Bob went over. I imagine it was some kind of DQ with Cornette involved or something, or maybe Murdoch put him over clean. I don't even know. I just know they tore the fucking house down, and it was a great fucking match, man. So that's my number 4. So
that's a good one.
Any questions, tell me or ask me, and I'll answer.
Not really.
It's that good.
Yeah, Bullet Bob, we're going to have to do a full episode about the Armstrong family at some point, just to kind of dig in for people who don't know a lot about them.
First of all, I have a lot of love and respect for the entire Armstrong family. Traveled a lot with them, worked a lot with them. Talked to Steve, I talked to Scott every once in a while still. I talked to Brian every once in a while still. Haven't spoken to Bullet for a while, but I like Bullet Bob Armstrong. He comes in, of course, he worked a lot with the throughout the southern U.S., down in Alabama, Georgia. He worked in Florida. He was in the Hall of Fame in 2011, but some of the things that I know personally, that's just something I just glanced up and read off. A couple things I want to share with you is I know he was a former United States Marine, so I thank Bullet Bob for serving our country. Also, Brian, James, his youngest son, he also served as a Marine, and I appreciate that. But he was a fireman, and he started off as a fireman there around, I think, Cobb County, Marietta, Georgia. And he worked several years, maybe up to about 8 years before he was wrestling a lot and getting really, really popular. And I think he probably was a fireman for several years before he finally made that decision. You know what, I'm gonna make it in wrestling, because he started telling me how over he started getting when he was going out, to these to the areas down there in Georgia and Alabama and working. The other thing, two things that stood out that he told me about. If you're familiar with the Nautilus equipment, if you're familiar with Nautilus. Arthur Jones, who invented the Nautilus equipment, I think it was down in Florida. Bob Armstrong told me one time he went down there to purchase a piece of equipment. Of course, back in the day, those were expensive piece of equipment, but apparently he was buying a piece for his home gym. And Arthur Jones used to measure people's arms, and the way he would do it, he would take a tape measure, a piece of paper, and cut it out and wrap it around your arm and then mark it. And he said he had legitimately had 20-inch arms at one time, and it was verified by Arthur Jones because he was so impressed with people's arms. So Bob Armstrong at one time, Armstrong did have that. And a lot of people don't know that he went under the mask as a Bullet, and that was due to a weightlifting injury. He was lifting about a 180-pound dumbbell, I think it was, and it broke, and it required a lot of surgery on his face. A lot of people think he went under the hood, I guess, to become the Bullet, alter ego or whatever, but that wasn't the case. He was doing it to disguise rather some of the disfiguration from the accident of weightlifting. And of course, most recently for me, and I know it's been a while, he's been on TNA, and of course, like I said, he's been in WWE Hall of Fame in 2011, but he was a Smoky Mountain Wrestling commissioner, and he was just over as a babyface everywhere he went, man. I really, that's all just, from notes and from the heart on Bullet Bob. Some of the people I know personally, and you've talked about this, you let me go because I might have a good behind-the-scenes story. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Just a good dude.
I've just got a few notes about Bullet Bob. Obviously, I had that he wrestled under the name Bullet, under a hood after having his face injured. He kept the name Bullet after that point. He also feuded with the Stud Stable, so there's to our Fuller Welch friends right there.
Yes.
And, of course, his 4 legendary sons. The Armstrong name is synonymous with pro wrestling in a lot of areas. Even though Road Dogg is probably the most famous, and he didn't wrestle under that name, but Bullet Bob was a hell of a wrestler. Dick Murdoch was fun to watch. And also, I'm a fan of anybody who uses the moniker Dirty when their first name is Dick.
Yep.
So, and I just see those two just slugging just two mean old bastards slugging the shit out of each other is what I'm hearing. But you're talking about a flying head scissor as well, so even that doesn't do it justice.
Well, see, that's the thing. They threw punches. They wrestled from the mat. They threw punches, and they did spots, Yeah. That's the thing. They threw it all out there. And I swear, to this day, I think when they saw the boys out there watching it, they did it for the boys. I may have even put that in my book. I honestly, I can't remember. If I didn't, I should have, as one of my favorite matches, that I think they were actually just wrestling for the boys that day. But it was that damn good, man. So anyway, that's all I'll say about that, if that's okay.
No, that's fine.
It's a damn good one.
Yeah, it sounds like a hell of a match.
Order Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots Will Travel by professional wrestler Bobby Blaze Smedley. Go to Amazon.com and get your copy now. It's a powerful and insightful 5-star memoir available to download or in paperback print editions.
I got lost on the road somewhere. Was it Texas or was it Canada?